Hello and welcome. Today, I'm going to whisper to you about a fascinating and complex topic, the history of medicine. So, get comfortable, close your eyes, and let's begin a soothing journey through time. Medicine, the art and science of healing, has been an integral part of human existence since the dawn of civilization. It is a testament to humanity's tireless quest to understand the human body and alleviate suffering. From the earliest days of shamanic healing and herbal remedies to the modern wonders of biotechnology and artificial intelligence, the story of medicine is one of remarkable progress, filled with both breakthroughs and setbacks. Throughout history, every culture has developed its own medical practices based on its beliefs, environment, and technological abilities. Ancient civilizations laid the foundations for modern medicine, exploring ways to cure diseases, heal wounds, and even perform rudimentary surgeries. These early medical systems were deeply intertwined with religion and superstition, but they also reflected early attempts at scientific observation and experimentation. In this series, we will delve into the rich history of medicine by exploring various eras and cultures. We will see how the wisdom of ancient healers evolved over time, how scientific thought revolutionized medical practices, and how the challenges of pandemics, wars, and technological advancements shaped the healthcare systems we rely on today. Now, let's take our first step into this journey by exploring the healing practices of early civilizations. Ancient medicine, healing practices in early civilizations. As we delve deeper into the ancient world, we find that the first medical practices were a blend of spiritual belief and practical observation. Medicine, in these early societies, was not just a means of healing the body but also a way to connect with the divine and the natural world. The first civilizations to emerge, such as Mesopotamia, Egypt, India, and China, developed distinct medical systems, yet they all shared a common belief that illness was not only a physical phenomenon but often a manifestation of spiritual or supernatural forces. Early medical practitioners, therefore, were often priests, shamans, or spiritual leaders tasked with healing both the body and the soul. In the fertile lands between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, the Sumerians, Akkadians, and Babylonians pioneered some of the earliest recorded medical practices. The ancient Mesopotamians believed that diseases were punishments from gods or the result of curses. They viewed the human body and its ailments through a spiritual lens, and thus, healing required intervention on multiple levels. The ASU, or practical healers, were responsible for treating the physical aspects of illness. They used an impressive array of plants, minerals, and animal products to create salves, tinctures, and poultices. Some of the herbs they used, such as licorice and myrrh, are still in use today in modern medicine. The Ashipu, on the other hand, were exorcists who dealt with the spiritual causes of disease, using prayers, incantations, and rituals to drive out evil spirits. Mesopotamian medicine was recorded on clay tablets in cuneiform script, some of which have survived to this day. These texts reveal a complex system of diagnosis, prognosis, and treatment. For example, the famous Code of Hammurabi includes detailed rules regarding the practice of medicine, including the responsibilities and penalties for physicians. In Egypt, medicine was closely tied to the religious beliefs surrounding death and the afterlife. The Egyptians believed that health was a gift from the gods, particularly Sekhmet, the goddess of healing in war, and Thoth, the god of wisdom in medicine. Sickness, on the other hand, was often viewed as a divine punishment or a sign of displeasure from the gods. The Egyptians are famous for their advanced knowledge of anatomy, largely due to their practice of mummification. By preserving the body after death, they gained a rudimentary understanding of the internal organs. However, their anatomical knowledge was still limited by their religious beliefs. The heart, for example, was considered the center of thought and emotion rather than the brain. Egyptian physicians, or SWNW, were highly respected and often specialized in different areas of medicine, such as surgery, dentistry, or gynecology. The Ebers Papyrus, one of the oldest and most important medical texts, lists over 700 remedies and prescriptions for various ailments, from wounds and fractures to digestive issues and respiratory illnesses. These treatments often combined herbal remedies with spells and incantations, reflecting the deeply spiritual nature of Egyptian medicine. In ancient India, the concept of Ayurveda, meaning the science of life, began to take shape. This holistic system of medicine, which is still practiced today, emphasizes balance between the body, mind, and spirit. According to Ayurvedic philosophy, health is achieved when the dashas, fundamental energies of the body, are in balance, and illness occurs when these forces are disrupted. Ayurvedic practitioners believe that the human body was made up of the 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether, and that these elements influence physical and mental health. Treatment in Ayurveda involved a combination of diet, herbal medicine, meditation, and physical therapies such as massage and yoga. The Charaka Samhita and Sushruta Samhita, ancient Indian texts, describe detailed surgical procedures, including the first known accounts of plastic surgery and cataract removal. They also emphasize the importance of ethical medical practice, cleanliness, and the proper diagnosis of disease based on observation and inquiry. In ancient China, the medical philosophy was rooted in the balance of opposing forces, yin and yang. Illness was thought to be the result of an imbalance in these forces or a disruption in the flow of qi, the vital life energy, through the body. Thus, the primary goal of Chinese medicine was to restore harmony within the body and with nature. One of the most important early medical texts in China is the Huangdi Neijing, the Yellow Emperor's Inner Canon, which outlines the principles of Chinese medicine, including acupuncture, herbal remedies, and the importance of diet and lifestyle. Acupuncture, in particular, was believed to restore the flow of qi by stimulating specific points on the body with fine needles. Chinese medicine also placed great importance on the connection between the body and the environment, advocating for seasonal diets, daily exercise, and maintaining a healthy balance between work and rest. This comprehensive approach to health, rooted in both prevention and treatment, has been a cornerstone of traditional Chinese medicine for thousands of years. The medical practices of these early civilizations were deeply intertwined with their religious and philosophical beliefs, reflecting their understanding of the world around them. While modern medicine has advanced far beyond the methods of these ancient healers, many of their principles, such as the use of herbal remedies and the importance of balance and health, continue to influence medical practice today. As we move forward in our journey through the history of medicine, we will see how these early foundations evolved into the more systematic and scientific approaches that define modern healthcare. But for now, let's appreciate the wisdom and ingenuity of these ancient civilizations who, with limited tools and knowledge, sought to heal and protect their people. Greek medicine, the birth of rational medicine. As we leave behind the mystical and spiritual approaches of ancient civilizations, we enter a period where medicine begins to take on more rational and systematic form. This transformation is most evident in ancient Greece, where medical thought was revolutionized by a few key figures who sought to separate medicine from superstition and religion, laying the groundwork for modern medical practices. In ancient Greece, healing was still deeply connected to the gods, particularly Asclepius, the god of medicine. Temples dedicated to Asclepius, known as Asclepia, were some of the earliest healing centers. Patients would come to these temples, undergo purification rituals, and offer sacrifices, hoping for divine intervention. Interestingly, these temples also served as places for early medical treatments, where priests would administer herbal remedies, exercise regimens, and even rudimentary surgeries. The shift toward rational medicine, however, is most famously associated with Hippocrates, often referred to as the father of medicine. Hippocrates lived in the 5th century BCE and sought to base medical practice on observation and experience rather than on divine or supernatural beliefs. His most famous contribution to medicine is the idea of the Hippocratic Oath, a code of ethical conduct for physicians that is still referenced in modern times. One of the central tenets of Hippocratic medicine was the theory of the four humors: blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile. According to this theory, the balance of these four bodily fluids determined a person's health. Illness, in this view, was caused by an imbalance of humors, and treatment involved restoring this balance through diet, exercise, and sometimes more invasive methods such as bloodletting. Hippocratic medicine also emphasized the importance of careful observation and detailed record-keeping. Hippocratic physicians were trained to meticulously note the symptoms, progression, and outcomes of diseases in their patients. This practice laid the foundation for clinical medicine, where patient observation became a crucial part of diagnosis and treatment. Following Hippocrates, other important figures in Greek medicine emerged. Galen, a Greek physician who lived in the Roman Empire during the 2nd century CE, built upon the work of Hippocrates and became one of the most influential medical figures of antiquity. Galen's writings on anatomy, physiology, and disease dominated medical thought for centuries. He conducted numerous animal dissections, gaining valuable insights into the structure and function of the human body, although some of his anatomical conclusions were incorrect due to the lack of human dissection. Despite these limitations, Galen's work greatly advanced the understanding of anatomy and surgery in the ancient world. He was a firm believer in the Hippocratic theory of the four humors and expanded upon it, applying it to almost every aspect of medicine. Galen's influence was so profound that his ideas remained largely unchallenged for over 1,000 years, particularly during the medieval period. Another key development in Greek medicine was the emphasis on a holistic approach to health. Greek physicians believed that good health was achieved through a balance between the mind, body, and environment. This idea was rooted in the Greek concept of sympathy, which suggested that the human body and nature were interconnected. Therefore, environmental factors such as climate, geography, and diet were considered crucial in the prevention and treatment of illness. Public health also gained attention in ancient Greece. The Greeks recognized the importance of clean air, proper sanitation, and a healthy diet in maintaining good health. Many of the health practices developed in this period, such as the promotion of physical fitness and the importance of hygiene, have echoes in modern public health systems. Greek medicine marked a significant departure from the mystical and religious foundations of earlier medical systems. By placing an emphasis on observation, rationality, and ethical practice, the Greeks created a new framework for understanding health and disease. Their contributions, particularly the work of Hippocrates and Galen, would go on to shape the practice of medicine for centuries to come. Roman medicine, military hospitals, and public health. As we move from the intellectual advances of Greek medicine, we now enter the Roman era, where practical applications of medicine took center stage. The Roman Empire, with its vast territory and powerful military, contributed significantly to the development of medicine, particularly in the areas of public health and military medical care. Roman medicine was heavily influenced by Greek practices, and many Greek physicians, such as Galen, were employed by wealthy Romans or served in public roles. However, the Romans were known for their pragmatic approach, focusing more on practical solutions to public health issues and medical care, especially for their soldiers. One of the most notable Roman contributions to medicine was the development of military hospitals, known as valetudinaria. These were some of the first institutions specifically designed for medical care. Built in strategic locations near military camps, these hospitals treated wounded soldiers and focused on their recovery so they could return to battle. The Romans recognized that a strong, healthy army was vital to maintaining their vast empire, and their military medical care system was advanced for its time. In these valetudinaria, Roman physicians applied a range of treatments, many of which were derived from Greek medical theories, particularly the theory of the four humors. Roman military surgeons were skilled in treating wounds, fractures, and other injuries that soldiers commonly sustained in battle. They developed techniques for cleaning wounds, preventing infection, and even performing amputations when necessary. The use of surgical tools such as scalpels, forceps, and catheters was commonplace, and many of these instruments are surprisingly similar to those used in modern times. Beyond the battlefield, the Romans made significant advancements in public health and sanitation. The Roman Empire was known for its impressive engineering feats, and these skills were applied to the construction of aqueducts, sewage systems, and public baths, all of which were designed to promote hygiene and prevent the spread of disease. Clean water was brought into cities through aqueducts, while waste was carried away via an extensive sewer system, the most famous being the Cloaca Maxima in Rome. Public baths were widespread and played an essential role in maintaining personal hygiene. The Romans believed that a clean environment was key to preventing illness, and they took proactive steps to improve the living conditions of their citizens. They understood the importance of fresh air, clean water, and proper sanitation, and their efforts in this area laid the foundation for modern public health systems. In addition to these practical advancements, Roman physicians, like their Greek predecessors, continued to study the human body and disease. Galen, who served as a physician to Roman emperors, was one of the most influential medical scholars of the time. His extensive writings on anatomy, physiology, and pharmacology were based on his observations and dissections, although human dissections were rare, and much of his anatomical knowledge came from animal dissections. Galen's work had a lasting impact on medicine, as his theories on the humoral system dominated medical thought for more than a millennium. He also expanded on Hippocratic ideas, particularly the importance of balancing the four humors to maintain health. His influence was so profound that his teachings were considered authoritative in both the Roman and Islamic worlds, and his works were widely studied throughout the Middle Ages. Roman medicine also had a strong focus on preventive care, particularly through diet, exercise, and lifestyle. Roman physicians, much like their Greek counterparts, emphasized the importance of a balanced diet and regular physical activity to maintain good health. This focus on prevention rather than just treatment was a key aspect of Roman medical philosophy. Despite their advancements, Roman medicine still had limitations. Many diseases, particularly those caused by infections, were not well understood, and treatment methods often involved a combination of herbal remedies, bloodletting, and prayers to the gods. However, their contributions to public health, surgery, and military medicine were significant and laid important groundwork for the medical practices that would develop in later centuries. In summary, the Romans took a highly practical approach to medicine, focusing on solving real-world problems such as battlefield injuries and public health crises. Their innovations in sanitation, military hospitals, and surgical techniques helped to keep their empire healthy and functioning, and their influence on medicine would be felt for centuries. Islamic Golden Age, Preservation and Innovation in Medicine. As we transition into the Islamic Golden Age, spanning roughly from the 8th to the 14th century, we encounter a period of remarkable intellectual and scientific flourishing. During this time, the Islamic world became the center of medical knowledge, preserving and expanding upon the advancements of the Greeks, Romans, and other ancient civilizations. While much of Europe was in the midst of the Dark Ages, Islamic scholars were translating and enhancing the medical texts of earlier cultures, making critical innovations in medicine and healthcare. One of the most significant contributions of the Islamic world to medicine was the preservation and translation of Greek and Roman medical texts. Many of these works, particularly those of Hippocrates and Galen, had been lost or forgotten in Europe. Islamic scholars, working in centers of learning like Baghdad's House of Wisdom, translated these texts from Greek and Latin into Arabic. This not only preserved the knowledge for future generations, but also made it accessible to scholars across the Islamic world and beyond. Yet, Islamic physicians did not merely preserve ancient knowledge, they also made significant advancements and innovations of their own. Among the most famous figures of this period was Ibn Sina, known in the West as Avicenna. His monumental work, The Canon of Medicine, became one of the most influential medical texts in history. The Canon was an extensive encyclopedia that systematized the medical knowledge of the time, including anatomy, pharmacology, and surgery. It was used as a standard medical reference in both the Islamic world and Europe for several centuries, particularly in medieval universities. Avicenna's work was notable for its organization and methodical approach. He advocated for the use of logic and experimentation in diagnosis and treatment, which was a departure from the more dogmatic adherence to the works of previous scholars like Galen. Avicenna also emphasized the importance of a holistic view of medicine, considering both the physical and psychological health of the patient. His contributions went beyond theory. He also identified diseases such as diabetes and tuberculosis and developed new treatments for various ailments. Another key figure in the Islamic Golden Age was Al-Razi, known in the West as Rhazes. Al-Razi was a physician, philosopher, and chemist, best known for his innovative approach to medicine. He was the first to make the distinction between smallpox and measles, two diseases that had been previously conflated. His detailed descriptions of the symptoms and progression of these diseases helped physicians distinguish between them, leading to more effective treatments. Al-Razi also pioneered the use of experimental medicine. He emphasized the importance of conducting clinical trials and testing treatments before using them on patients, laying the groundwork for the scientific method in medicine. His major work, the Comprehensive Book on Medicine, compiled a vast array of medical knowledge and practices, combining his own observations with the works of his predecessors. Like Avicenna's Canon, it became a key text in both the Islamic world and Europe. The Islamic Golden Age was also notable for the establishment of hospitals, or bimaristans, which became some of the most advanced medical institutions of their time. These hospitals were far more than simple places for the sick to be treated. They were centers of medical education and research. Physicians trained in these hospitals would diagnose patients, develop treatments, and perform surgeries, all while adhering to ethical guidelines that were influenced by both Islamic teachings and Hippocratic principles. One of the most famous bimaristans was in Baghdad, which had separate wards for different diseases, such as fevers, eye diseases, and mental illnesses. This level of specialization was unprecedented and demonstrated a sophisticated understanding of the diverse nature of illnesses. These hospitals were open to people of all social classes and faiths, reflecting the inclusive nature of Islamic medicine. Another area where Islamic physicians excelled was in surgery and pharmacology. They improved upon Greek and Roman surgical techniques and developed new instruments that would be used for centuries. Al-Zarawi, known as Al-Bucasis, was a renowned surgeon whose Kitab al-Tasrif, or the Method of Medicine, detailed surgical techniques and instruments. His work included descriptions of over 200 surgical tools and was used as a reference in European medical schools well into the Renaissance. In pharmacology, Islamic scholars made significant strides in identifying and using medicinal plants. They established the first pharmacies, known as saydalas, and developed sophisticated methods for distilling, extracting, and compounding medications. The pharmacological texts of Islamic scholars listed hundreds of medicinal substances, some of which are still in use today. The Islamic Golden Age was not only about preserving knowledge but also about innovation. Islamic physicians emphasized the importance of empirical observation, experimentation, and a systematic approach to medicine. They laid the foundations for modern medical ethics, clinical trials, and hospital care, and their contributions would have a lasting impact on both the Islamic world and the West. As the knowledge of the Islamic Golden Age began to spread into Europe, particularly during the Crusades and later through translations in medieval Spain, it helped spark the medical renaissance in Europe. The influence of scholars like Avicenna, Al-Razi, and Al-Zarawi can still be felt today in modern medical practice. Medieval European medicine, faith, superstition, and plague. As we transition to medieval Europe, we find a stark contrast to the rational and empirical approaches seen during the Islamic Golden Age. Between the 5th and 15th centuries, European medicine was heavily influenced by the Catholic Church, resulting in a system where faith and superstition often overshadowed scientific inquiry. This period is often referred to as the Dark Ages in Europe, where intellectual progress slowed and ancient medical knowledge was frequently lost or misunderstood. In medieval Europe, illness was often viewed through a religious lens. Diseases were commonly seen as punishments from God for sinful behavior, and many believed that prayer and penance were the most effective cures. Monasteries played a crucial role in preserving and transmitting medical knowledge during this time, as they were the centers of education and literacy. Monks would transcribe ancient medical texts, although much of the Greek and Roman medical knowledge was filtered through a Christian worldview. The Catholic Church held significant influence over medical practices, and its teachings often discouraged dissection and empirical investigation. As a result, the study of anatomy and physiology stagnated, and much of medical practice relied on outdated theories, particularly those of Galen and Hippocrates. The humoral theory, the idea that health was determined by the balance of the four bodily fluids, blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile remained dominant throughout the medieval period, and treatments aimed to restore this balance through methods such as bloodletting, purging, and the use of herbal remedies. However, despite the religious and superstitious dominance, there were some advancements and efforts to build upon earlier medical traditions. Monastic hospitals emerged across Europe, where monks and nuns would care for the sick, primarily offering spiritual healing alongside basic physical treatments. These hospitals were more akin to hospices, providing comfort and shelter rather than intensive medical intervention. One of the most defining events of medieval European medicine was the outbreak of the Black Death, or bubonic plague, which ravaged Europe in the mid-14th century. The plague, caused by the bacterium Yersinia pestis and transmitted through fleas on rats, killed an estimated one-third of Europe's population between 1347 and 1351. The disease spread rapidly through overcrowded and unsanitary cities, where medical knowledge was insufficient to combat such a massive health crisis. The arrival of the Black Death exposed the severe limitations of medieval medicine. Physicians, lacking an understanding of germs or bacteria, were unable to explain the cause of the disease. Instead, they turned to astrological explanations, religious reasoning, and humoral theory to make sense of the devastation. Some believed the plague was a result of miasma or bad air, while others thought it was a punishment from God, leading to widespread penitential practices such as flagellation, where groups of people would whip themselves in public to atone for humanity's sins. Desperate for cures, medieval physicians and healers tried a variety of ineffective and often harmful treatments. Bloodletting, herbal concoctions, and prayers were among the most common. Some people turned to magic and superstition, wearing protective charms or amulets in the hopes of warding off the disease. In the absence of effective medical solutions, the plague also gave rise to social unrest, with various groups such as Jewish communities being scapegoated and persecuted, blamed for causing the plague through poisoning wells or other supposed malicious acts. However, the plague did prompt some improvements in public health measures. Cities began to implement quarantine practices where infected individuals or entire households were isolated to prevent the spread of the disease. The term quarantine comes from the Italian word quaranta, meaning 40, as ships arriving in plague-affected areas were often required to dock offshore for 40 days before passengers were allowed to disembark. These early quarantine measures, though primitive, marked a significant step toward recognizing the importance of isolation in controlling infectious diseases. Despite the overwhelming influence of faith and superstition, there were individuals in medieval Europe who sought to revive rational medical practices. Universities, which began to emerge across Europe during the 12th and 13th centuries, played a crucial role in this revival. Medical schools in places like Salerno, Montpellier, and Paris became centers for the study of medicine, where scholars began to reintroduce the works of Hippocrates, Galen, and Avicenna into European thought. These institutions laid the groundwork for the medical renaissance that would follow in the subsequent centuries. Women healers also played a vital role in medieval medicine, often practicing outside the formal structures of the church and universities. Many women, particularly in rural areas, served as midwives, herbalists, and folk healers, providing care to their communities using knowledge passed down through generations. While their contributions were significant, they were often marginalized or viewed with suspicion by the male-dominated medical and religious authorities. In some cases, women who practiced healing were even accused of witchcraft, especially if their treatments conflicted with the Church's teachings. In conclusion, medieval European medicine was characterized by a complex interplay between faith, superstition, and the limited scientific knowledge of the time. While medical practices were heavily influenced by religious beliefs and ancient theories, the period also saw the development of early hospitals, universities, and public health measures. The devastation of the Black Death exposed the weaknesses of medieval medicine but also led to important changes that would shape the future of healthcare in Europe. Renaissance medicine, the rediscovery of classical knowledge. As we move from the Middle Ages into the Renaissance, roughly spanning from the 14th to the 17th centuries, we witness a revival of classical knowledge and a renewed focus on scientific inquiry. The Renaissance was a period of profound intellectual, cultural, and scientific transformation in Europe, and medicine was no exception. This era marked the rediscovery of ancient Greek and Roman medical texts, as well as the birth of new scientific methods that would eventually lead to modern medical practices. The Renaissance was characterized by a shift from the reliance on religious explanations for illness toward a more human-centered approach, one that emphasized observation, experimentation, and the study of the natural world. The period saw an influx of translated medical texts from the Islamic world, where scholars had preserved and expanded upon the works of Hippocrates, Galen, and other ancient authorities. As these texts made their way into Europe, particularly through centers of learning like Venice and Florence, they sparked a renewed interest in the study of anatomy, surgery, and the workings of the human body. One of the most important figures of Renaissance medicine was Andreas Vesalius, a Flemish physician and anatomist whose groundbreaking work revolutionized the understanding of human anatomy. In 1543, Vesalius published his seminal book, De Humani Corporis Fabrica, on the fabric of the human body, which provided detailed illustrations of human anatomy based on his own dissections of cadavers. Unlike his predecessors, who had relied on animal dissections or the teachings of Galen, Vesalius conducted human dissections himself and corrected many of the misconceptions about anatomy that had persisted for centuries. Vesalius's work was a turning point in the study of medicine, as it emphasized the importance of direct observation and hands-on investigation. His detailed anatomical drawings set a new standard for accuracy and challenged the long-standing authority of Galenic anatomy. This shift from a reliance on ancient texts to empirical observation laid the groundwork for modern scientific methods in medicine. In addition to Vesalius, another key figure of the Renaissance was William Harvey, an English physician who made one of the most important discoveries in the history of medicine, the circulation of blood. In 1628, Harvey published De Motu Cordis, on the motion of the heart and blood, in which he demonstrated that the heart acts as a pump to circulate blood throughout the body. This was a revolutionary departure from Galen's belief that blood was consumed by the body and produced continuously by the liver. Harvey's work was based on careful experimentation and observation, using both animal dissections and early forms of experimentation on live animals. His discovery of the circulatory system not only overturned centuries of medical dogma but also paved the way for future advancements in physiology and medicine. It marked a significant step toward understanding the inner workings of the body, moving away from mystical explanations and towards scientific inquiry. The Renaissance also saw advancements in surgery. While surgery in medieval Europe had been a low-status profession, often left to barbers and untrained practitioners, Renaissance surgeons began to gain more respect and recognition for their skills. Surgeons like Ambrose Pare, a French pioneer in battlefield medicine, revolutionized surgical techniques. Pare is best known for his work in treating battlefield wounds, particularly his rejection of the traditional method of treating gunshot wounds with boiling oil. Instead, he advocated for gentler treatments, such as the use of a mixture of egg yolk, oil of roses, and turpentine to prevent infection. He also developed new techniques for ligating blood vessels during amputations, significantly reducing the risk of death from bleeding. In the field of pharmacology, Renaissance scholars began to challenge traditional herbal remedies and develop more scientific approaches to medicine. Paracelsus, a Swiss physician and alchemist, was one of the most influential figures in this area. Paracelsus rejected the humoral theory of medicine and instead proposed that diseases were caused by external agents, such as poisons or toxins. He is often credited with laying the foundations for toxicology and advocating for the use of chemicals and minerals, rather than just herbs, in treating diseases. His motto, "The dose makes the poison," reflected his belief that substances could be both healing or harmful depending on the quantity used. Medical education also underwent significant changes during the Renaissance. Universities across Europe began to establish medical schools that combined the study of ancient texts with practical, hands-on training in anatomy and surgery. The dissection of human cadavers, which had been discouraged by the Church during the Middle Ages, became a key part of medical training. This allowed students and physicians to gain a more accurate understanding of the human body and develop new treatments based on direct observation and experimentation. The printing press, invented by Johannes Gutenberg in the mid-15th century, played a critical role in the dissemination of medical knowledge. For the first time, medical texts could be printed and distributed widely, making it easier for physicians and scholars to access and share information. The publication of detailed anatomical diagrams and medical treatises allowed knowledge to spread more rapidly across Europe, accelerating the progress of medical science. Despite these advancements, Renaissance medicine was still far from perfect. Physicians and surgeons often clashed, with surgery considered a lower status profession. Medical treatments remained rudimentary by modern standards, and many diseases, such as the plague, continued to ravage Europe without effective cures. However, the Renaissance laid the intellectual and scientific foundations for the major medical breakthroughs that would come in later centuries. The rediscovery of classical knowledge, combined with new methods of observation and experimentation, set the stage for the scientific revolution and the rise of modern medicine. As Europe emerged from the intellectual constraints of the Middle Ages, it embraced a new spirit of inquiry and innovation that would transform medicine forever. The Age of Enlightenment, Science and the Body. As the Renaissance gave way to the Age of Enlightenment in the 17th and 18th centuries, the world witnessed a profound transformation in the way science, including medicine, was approached. The Enlightenment was characterized by a belief in reason, scientific inquiry, and the potential for human progress. In the realm of medicine, this period marked a shift towards a more empirical, evidence-based approach to understanding the human body and treating disease. The Enlightenment, or Age of Reason, saw the decline of mystical and superstitious views of health and illness that had dominated previous centuries. Instead, the scientific method became the standard for medical research and discovery. Physicians and scholars sought to understand the body as a machine that could be studied, analyzed, and repaired using rational and systematic methods. This mechanistic view of the body was heavily influenced by the work of great thinkers such as René Descartes, who described the body as a complex system of interacting parts, much like a clock or a machine. One of the most significant advancements during the Enlightenment was the increasing emphasis on anatomy and physiology. physicians and researchers began to dissect human bodies more frequently, leading to a greater understanding of how organs and systems work together. For example, Marcello Malpighi, an Italian physician and biologist, made groundbreaking discoveries in the field of microscopic anatomy, particularly through his study of the circulatory system and the capillaries, which connected arteries and veins. His work provided a clearer understanding of the movement of blood, building on William Harvey's earlier discoveries about circulation. Another key figure during the Enlightenment was Hermann Boerhaave, a Dutch physician often regarded as the father of clinical teaching. Boerhaave introduced the concept of bedside teaching, where medical students would learn by observing and examining patients directly rather than relying solely on lectures and theoretical knowledge. He emphasized the importance of taking detailed patient histories, conducting physical examinations, and using practical observation in diagnosis and treatment. This hands-on, empirical approach became the foundation of modern clinical medicine. The Enlightenment also saw the rise of experimental medicine, where controlled experiments were conducted to test medical theories and treatments. One of the most famous examples of this was James Lind, a Scottish physician who conducted the first controlled clinical trial in 1747. Lind's study focused on sailors suffering from scurvy, a common and often deadly condition among long-distance sailors. By giving different groups of sailors various treatments, Lind discovered that scurvy could be effectively prevented and treated with citrus fruits, which contain what we now know as vitamin C. This trial was a significant step toward the modern understanding of nutrition and the use of controlled experiments in medical research. In addition to advancements in understanding disease and anatomy, the Enlightenment was also a period of great progress in surgery. John Hunter, a Scottish surgeon and anatomist, revolutionized the field of surgery through his meticulous approach to research and experimentation. Known as the father of scientific surgery, Hunter emphasized the importance of evidence-based surgical practices and performed pioneering work in areas such as the repair of aneurysms, dental surgery, and even the transplantation of tissue. Hunter also made significant contributions to the understanding of inflammation and wound healing, which greatly improved the outcomes of surgeries and other medical treatments. His work laid the groundwork for later developments in the field of surgery, particularly as antiseptic techniques and anesthesia became more widespread in the 19th century. Another monumental achievement of the Enlightenment was the development of vaccination. Edward Jenner, an English physician, is credited with creating the world's first vaccine in 1796. Jenner's discovery came from his observations of dairymaids who contracted cowpox, a mild disease, but appeared to be immune to smallpox, a deadly and highly contagious disease that killed millions across Europe. By inoculating people with cowpox, Jenner found that they could be protected from smallpox, effectively preventing the spread of the disease. His groundbreaking work led to the widespread adoption of vaccines and marked the beginning of immunology as a field of study. Jenner's development of the smallpox vaccine was one of the most significant public health breakthroughs in history, and it laid the foundation for the later eradication of smallpox in the 20th century. The success of vaccination demonstrated the power of preventative medicine, a concept that became increasingly important during the Enlightenment. The Enlightenment also witnessed the rise of public health initiatives. Governments and societies began to take more responsibility for the health of their populations, recognizing the importance of sanitation, clean water, and the control of epidemics. Smallpox inoculation, for example, was introduced as a public health measure in many European countries, and quarantine regulations were enforced more strictly to control the spread of contagious diseases. The development of statistics and epidemiology also began during this period, as physicians and mathematicians like John Grunt and William Farr began to systematically study patterns of disease in populations. One of the more philosophical aspects of medicine during the Enlightenment was the debate surrounding the nature of life and death. As medical science advanced, scholars began to explore questions about what it meant to be alive, the role of consciousness, and the boundary between life and death. These debates were influenced by the mechanistic view of the body, but they also raised ethical and moral questions about medical intervention, experimentation, and the prolongation of life. By the end of the Enlightenment, the field of medicine had undergone a profound transformation. Physicians and scientists had developed new ways of understanding the human body, treating disease, and preventing illness. The emphasis on observation, experimentation, and rational thought laid the groundwork for the scientific revolution, which would continue to propel medicine forward into the modern era. The Age of Enlightenment marked the end of many of the superstitions and unfounded beliefs that had dominated medical practice for centuries. In their place came a new era of science, reason, and progress, which set the stage for the dramatic medical advancements of the 19th and 20th centuries. The Industrial Revolution, Public Health and Epidemics. The Industrial Revolution, which began in the late 18th century and continued through the 19th century, brought about dramatic changes in society, technology, and industry. While these advancements led to unprecedented economic growth and urbanization, they also introduced new challenges for public health. The rapid expansion of cities, overcrowding, poor sanitation, and harsh working conditions created fertile ground for the spread of diseases and epidemics. During this period, medicine and public health evolved in response to these new challenges, laying the foundation for modern healthcare systems. One of the most significant impacts of the Industrial Revolution was the rapid urbanization that took place as people flocked to cities in search of work. The populations of cities like London, Manchester, and Paris exploded, leading to severe overcrowding and unsanitary living conditions. In many industrial cities, housing was hastily constructed, with little regard for public health. Sewage systems were inadequate, and clean drinking water was scarce. As a result, infectious diseases such as cholera, typhoid, and tuberculosis spread rapidly through these densely populated urban areas. The Industrial Revolution also exacerbated the problem of occupational health. Factory workers, miners, and laborers often worked long hours in dangerous and unhealthy conditions. Exposure to toxic chemicals, dust, and poor ventilation led to respiratory diseases and other health problems, while accidents and injuries were common in factories and mines. Despite these dangers, medical knowledge about the long-term effects of industrial work on health was limited during the early years of the Industrial Revolution. The spread of disease in cities, along with the grim working and living conditions, prompted the development of public health systems. One of the most pressing issues was the frequent outbreaks of cholera, a deadly waterborne disease. The cholera pandemics, which swept across Europe in the 19th century, were particularly devastating, killing hundreds of thousands of people. In response, medical professionals, government officials, and reformers began to study the causes of cholera and other diseases more systematically. One of the most important figures in this effort was John Snow, a British physician who is often regarded as the father of modern epidemiology. During the cholera outbreak in London in 1854, Snow conducted a groundbreaking investigation into the source of the disease. By mapping the locations of cholera cases and studying the water sources in the affected areas, Snell was able to trace the outbreak to a contaminated water pump on Broad Street. His work demonstrated that cholera was spread through contaminated water, not through miasma, bad air, which was the prevailing theory at the time. Snell's findings revolutionized the understanding of infectious diseases and highlighted the importance of clean water and sanitation in preventing epidemics. In addition to Snell's work, the sanitary movement gained momentum during the Industrial Revolution. Public health reformers like Edwin Chadwick in Britain and Louis-René Villerme in France advocated for improvements in sanitation, housing, and working conditions. Chadwick's influential report, The Sanitary Condition of the Laboring Population, 1842, highlighted the connection between poor living conditions and disease. His report called for the construction of better sewage systems, the provision of clean water, and the regulation of working conditions in factories. These efforts helped lay the groundwork for modern public health policies and urban planning. The Industrial Revolution also saw significant advances in medicine and surgery, particularly in response to the growing demand for medical care in rapidly expanding cities. The development of anesthesia and antiseptics in the mid-19th century revolutionized surgery, making it possible to perform more complex and less painful procedures. Anesthesia, first demonstrated by William Morton in 1846, allowed patients to undergo surgery without the agony of being awake. This breakthrough made surgical intervention much safer and more humane. Another key figure was Joseph Lister, a British surgeon who introduced the use of antiseptics in surgery. Lister was influenced by the discoveries of Louis Pasteur, a French microbiologist who developed the germ theory of disease. Pasteur's work demonstrated that microorganisms, not miasma, were responsible for causing infections. Inspired by this, Lister began using carbolic acid to sterilize surgical instruments and clean wounds, drastically reducing the rate of post-surgical infections and deaths. Lister's antiseptic techniques revolutionized surgery and laid the foundation for modern sterile surgical procedures. Pasteur himself made monumental contributions to public health and medicine during the Industrial Revolution. His germ theory not only revolutionized the understanding of infectious diseases but also led to the development of pasteurization, a process of heating liquids to kill harmful bacteria. Pasteur's work in developing vaccines, particularly his vaccine for rabies, also marked the beginning of modern immunology. His research inspired other scientists, such as Robert Koch, a German physician who identified the bacteria responsible for tuberculosis and cholera. The Industrial Revolution also saw the establishment of the first modern hospitals. While hospitals had existed for centuries, they were often places where the poor and terminally ill went to die rather than receive effective treatment. However, during the 19th century, hospitals began to transform into institutions for scientific medical care and surgery. Innovations in hospital design, such as better ventilation, sanitation, and the separation of patients with infectious diseases, helped improve outcomes for patients. Nurses also played a crucial role in the evolving healthcare system of the Industrial Revolution. Florence Nightingale, often considered the founder of modern nursing, made significant contributions to the field during the Crimean War, 1853 to 1856. Her work in improving hygiene and sanitation in military hospitals drastically reduced mortality rates among wounded soldiers. Nightingale's efforts helped professionalize nursing and emphasized the importance of cleanliness, nutrition, and compassionate care in the healing process. By the late 19th century, governments began to take a more active role in regulating public health and providing healthcare to their citizens. Many European countries introduced public health acts, which enforce regulations on sanitation, housing, and factory conditions. The rise of social medicine, which recognized the link between poverty, inequality, and health, also gained traction during this period, leading to the development of welfare policies aimed at improving the health and well-being of the working class. In conclusion, the Industrial Revolution was a period of both great progress and profound challenges for public health. The rapid urbanization and industrialization of society created new health crises, but it also spurred medical and scientific advancements that would shape modern healthcare. The work of public health pioneers, the development of vaccines, antiseptics, and anesthesia, and the creation of modern hospitals all contributed to the improvement of health and medical care during this transformative era. The 20th century, the rise of modern medicine. The 20th century was a period of unparalleled advancement in medicine. Scientific discoveries, technological innovations, and the professionalization of healthcare revolutionized the practice of medicine and significantly extended the average human lifespan. From the development of antibiotics and vaccines to the creation of advanced imaging technologies and surgical techniques, this century saw the birth of what we now consider modern medicine. One of the most transformative discoveries in the early 20th century was the development of antibiotics, particularly penicillin. In 1928, Scottish scientist Alexander Fleming accidentally discovered penicillin, the first true antibiotic, while studying bacteria at St. Mary's Hospital in London. He noticed that a mold called Penicillium notatum had killed the bacteria growing in his petri dish. Although Fleming's initial discovery was groundbreaking, it wasn't until the 1940s that penicillin was mass-produced and widely used, thanks to the work of scientists like Howard Florey and Ernst Boris Chain. Penicillin became a miracle drug, saving millions of lives by effectively treating bacterial infections that had previously been deadly, such as pneumonia, sepsis, and syphilis. The development of antibiotics transformed the treatment of infectious diseases and led to the decline of illnesses that had been leading causes of death for centuries. Before antibiotics, even minor infections could be fatal, but these drugs allow physicians to treat patients more effectively. This breakthrough also paved the way for the discovery of other antibiotics, which further revolutionized medicine. In addition to antibiotics, the 20th century saw the widespread use of vaccines to prevent infectious diseases. Building on the work of Edward Jenner and Louis Pasteur, scientists developed vaccines for diseases such as polio, measles, mumps, rubella, and tetanus. One of the most notable achievements of the century was the development of the polio vaccine. Jonas Salk, an American virologist, created the first effective polio vaccine in the 1950s, which virtually eliminated polio in many parts of the world. Polio, a disease that caused paralysis and death, was once a global scourge, but thanks to widespread vaccination campaigns, it has been nearly eradicated. Vaccination programs became a key part of public health efforts in the 20th century. The World Health Organization, WHO, led the charge in global vaccination campaigns, most notably the effort to eradicate smallpox. Smallpox had killed millions of people throughout history, but a successful global vaccination campaign, culminating in the late 1970s, led to the complete eradication of the disease. Smallpox remains the only human disease to have been eradicated worldwide, a testament to the power of vaccines. Another key development in 20th century medicine was the creation of medical imaging technologies, which transformed the way physicians diagnosed and treated diseases. X-rays, discovered by Wilhelm Conrad Röntgen in 1895, were the first technology to allow doctors to see inside the human body without surgery. X-rays revolutionized the field of diagnostics, enabling doctors to detect broken bones, tumors, and other internal conditions with unprecedented precision. Following the discovery of X-rays, other imaging technologies were developed, including ultrasound, CT scans, computed tomography, and MRI, magnetic resonance imaging. These technologies allowed doctors to visualize soft tissues, blood vessels, and organs in remarkable detail, greatly improving the accuracy of diagnoses and enabling more targeted and effective treatments. By the end of the century, these tools had become essential in modern medicine, allowing for earlier detection of diseases such as cancer and heart conditions, which improved survival rates and patient outcomes. The 20th century also witnessed dramatic advancements in surgical techniques. The introduction of anesthesia and antiseptic techniques in the 19th century had already made surgery safer, but the development of new surgical tools, techniques, and technologies in the 20th century took surgery to new heights. Open heart surgery, organ transplants, and minimally invasive surgeries became increasingly common. Christiaan Barnard, a South African surgeon, performed the world's first successful human heart transplant in 1967, marking a major milestone in the field of transplant surgery. Transplantation of kidneys, livers, and other organs soon followed, saving the lives of countless patients with organ failure. The discovery of insulin in 1921 by Canadian researchers Frederick Banting and Charles Best was another landmark achievement in the treatment of chronic diseases. Insulin allowed people with diabetes, a previously fatal condition, to manage their blood sugar levels and live longer, healthier lives. The ability to treat chronic conditions such as diabetes, heart disease, and cancer became a major focus of medical research throughout the century, leading to improved drugs, therapies, and surgical interventions. The latter half of the 20th century saw the rise of genetics and molecular biology as major fields of study in medicine. The discovery of the structure of DNA by James Watson and Francis Crick in 1953 laid the foundation for the field of genomics and revolutionized the understanding of heredity and disease. By the 1990s, the Human Genome Project was launched, an ambitious effort to map the entire human genome. This project, completed in 2003, opened new doors for the understanding of genetic diseases, personalized medicine, and potential gene therapies. Advances in pharmacology also flourished during the 20th century. The development of new drugs, such as antidepressants, chemotherapy agents, and antiviral medications, provided physicians with powerful tools to treat a wide range of conditions. In the field of mental health, the introduction of psychotropic drugs, such as antidepressants and antipsychotics, significantly improved the treatment of mental illnesses, allowing patients to live more stable lives and reducing the need for long-term institutionalization. The rise of evidence-based medicine during this time period also fundamentally changed the practice of healthcare. Physicians began to rely more heavily on clinical research and randomized controlled trials to determine the most effective treatments. This shift towards a more scientific and data-driven approach to medicine ensured that treatments were not only based on anecdotal evidence but on rigorous testing and verification. Public health initiatives expanded dramatically in the 20th century, driven by the recognition that prevention was just as important as treatment. Governments and international organizations, such as the World Health Organization and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, launched large-scale public health campaigns aimed at eradicating infectious diseases, improving sanitation, and promoting healthier lifestyles. Efforts to reduce smoking, promote vaccination, and combat the spread of sexually transmitted infections such as HIV/AIDS became major public health priorities. By the end of the 20th century, medicine had undergone a complete transformation. The average human lifespan had increased dramatically thanks to antibiotics, vaccines, advanced surgical techniques, and better healthcare systems. Diseases that had once killed millions were now preventable or treatable, and the understanding of the human body had reached unprecedented levels. The future of medicine, biotechnology, AI, and personalized care. As we move into the 21st century and beyond, the field of medicine is poised for even more rapid and revolutionary advancements. The integration of biotechnology, artificial intelligence, AI, and personalized care is transforming healthcare, offering unprecedented opportunities to treat diseases, extend human life, and improve the quality of care. These innovations are shaping the future of medicine in ways that were unimaginable just a few decades ago. One of the most exciting developments is the rise of biotechnology. This broad field encompasses a range of cutting-edge technologies, including genetic engineering, stem cell therapy, and biopharmaceuticals. Biotechnology has already led to significant breakthroughs in medicine, such as the development of gene therapies that can treat genetic disorders at their source by altering a patient's DNA. Diseases that were once considered incurable, like cystic fibrosis and certain types of cancer, are now being targeted with gene editing technologies like CRISPR-Cas9. CRISPR, a revolutionary gene editing tool, allows scientists to precisely cut and modify DNA sequences. This technology has the potential to correct genetic mutations that cause diseases, opening the door to curing previously untreatable conditions. While CRISPR is still in its early stages, its applications are vast, from treating genetic disorders to potentially preventing inherited diseases before a child is even born. Ethical concerns, however, accompany these advancements, particularly around genome editing in human embryos, which raises questions about the boundaries of genetic manipulation. Another area where biotechnology is transforming medicine is in regenerative medicine, particularly the use of stem cells. Stem cells have the unique ability to develop into different types of cells, making them valuable for repairing damaged tissues and organs. Scientists are working on developing stem cell therapies to treat conditions such as Parkinson's disease, spinal cord injuries, and heart disease. In the future, it may be possible to grow replacement organs in the lab from a patient's own cells, eliminating the need for organ transplants and the risk of rejection. The development of biopharmaceuticals, drugs produced through biological processes rather than chemical synthesis, has also revolutionized the treatment of diseases like cancer, autoimmune disorders, and infectious diseases. Monoclonal antibodies, for example, are lab-produced molecules designed to mimic the immune system's ability to fight off harmful pathogens. These therapies are becoming increasingly personalized, targeting specific proteins or cells associated with a patient's unique form of disease. At the same time, artificial intelligence, AI, is making its way into all aspects of healthcare, from diagnostics to treatment planning and drug development. AI algorithms can analyze vast amounts of data quickly and accurately, making it possible to detect patterns and make predictions that would be impossible for human doctors to process alone. For example, AI is being used to analyze medical images such as X-rays, MRIs, and CT scans to detect diseases like cancer at an early stage with remarkable accuracy. One of the most promising applications of AI is in the field of precision medicine. AI systems can analyze genetic data, lifestyle factors, and environmental influences to create personalized treatment plans tailored to the individual patient. This approach stands in contrast to traditional medicine, where treatments are often designed for the average patient. By taking into account the unique characteristics of each person, precision medicine aims to provide more effective and targeted therapies, especially for complex diseases like cancer and heart disease. In oncology, for example, AI can help identify the specific genetic mutations driving a patient's cancer, allowing doctors to choose therapies that target those mutations. This approach is already being used in immunotherapy, where a patient's own immune system is harnessed to fight cancer. AI also plays a key role in drug discovery, accelerating the process of finding new drugs by simulating how potential treatments will interact with the body. AI-driven robotic surgery is another area that is transforming medical procedures. Robots can assist surgeons with precision tasks, allowing for minimally invasive surgeries that result in less pain, smaller incisions, and faster recovery times for patients. Systems like the Da Vinci surgical system have already been used successfully in thousands of procedures, including prostatectomies, heart surgeries, and gynecological operations. Wearable technology and digital health are also set to change how healthcare is delivered. Wearable devices, such as smartwatches and fitness trackers, are increasingly being used to monitor patients' health in real time. These devices can track vital signs, such as heart rate, blood pressure, and glucose levels, providing valuable data that can be used to detect early signs of disease or prevent medical emergencies. With the integration of AI, these wearables could eventually become diagnostic tools that alert patients and doctors to potential health issues before they become serious. Telemedicine has also seen rapid growth, particularly during the COVID-19 pandemic, and is expected to continue expanding. Telemedicine allows patients to consult with doctors remotely, increasing access to healthcare, especially for those in rural or underserved areas. Combined with AI, telemedicine platforms could offer real-time diagnostic support, enabling patients to receive timely and accurate care from the comfort of their homes. Another area of growing importance is personalized nutrition and lifestyle interventions. Advances in genomics and AI are allowing for the development of personalized health recommendations based on an individual's genetic makeup, microbiome, and lifestyle factors. This approach to healthcare aims to prevent diseases before they occur by offering customized plans for diet, exercise, and lifestyle changes. As these technologies continue to evolve, ethical considerations will become increasingly important. Questions surrounding the privacy of genetic data, the equitable distribution of advanced treatments, and the potential for genetic enhancement in humans will need to be addressed by society. The potential for AI and biotechnology to improve health outcomes is enormous, but it will require careful oversight to ensure that these technologies are used responsibly and ethically. Finally, the future of medicine is also likely to see continued advancements in global health. As new technologies become more widespread, there is hope that healthcare access can improve across the world, especially in low and middle-income countries. Mobile health technologies, AI-driven diagnostics, and affordable vaccines could help bridge the gap in healthcare access and quality, reducing global health disparities. In conclusion, the future of medicine is full of promise. Biotechnology, AI, and personalized care are transforming how we understand and treat disease, offering new hope for patients and revolutionizing healthcare delivery. As we look ahead, the potential for longer, healthier lives is within reach, thanks to these remarkable innovations. And that brings us to the end of our journey through the fascinating history of medicine. From the ancient healing practices of early civilizations to the rational approaches of the Greeks and Romans, through the scientific breakthroughs of the Renaissance and Enlightenment, and finally to the remarkable innovations of the 20th and 21st centuries, medicine has continuously evolved, driven by curiosity, compassion, and the desire to alleviate human suffering. As we look toward the future, we stand on the threshold of incredible possibilities. Biotechnology, artificial intelligence, and personalized care are opening new doors to treatments and cures that were once the stuff of science fiction. But through it all, one thing remains constant: the dedication of those who work to understand the human body and improve the health and well-being of others. Thank you for joining me on this whispered journey through the history of medicine. I hope you found it as intriguing and enlightening as I did. If you enjoyed this exploration, be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below with your thoughts or suggestions for future topics. Until next time, stay curious, stay healthy, and take care of yourself. Goodbye.